In this week's Parsha, Parshas Beshalach, we recall one of the most brilliant moments in the history of the Jewish people, the greatest miracle that Hashem performs for the Bnei Yisrael in their history until this point in the Torah. Hashem splits the sea for Bnei Yisrael. The Jewish people are being sent out of Egypt. Vayihi Beshalach Paro es ha'am. Paro says, get out of here. And the people start going and going and going, and they're ready to go wherever Hashem will take them. But suddenly, as they keep on going and they see a sea in front of them, they know they can't go in the sea, and they turn around and they can't believe their eyes. Their Paro and the Egyptians, with all their horses and all their chariots, are running after them to try to bring them back to slavery. It's a nightmare. Here they thought they were being liberated from enslavement, and they turn around and see that those who kept them as enslaved for so long were trying now to get them back. And the Bnei Yisrael were scared. They finally tasted freedom, and now they were full of fear. And so what happens? They cry out to Moshe, and they say, Moshe, you're our leader. What's happening here? There's a sea here. Our tormentors are running after us. What are we to do? And they cry, and they're scared. And Moshe, in response, calls out to Hashem. Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem, he says, God, what should I do for the people? Hashem's response to Moshe is very simple. Ma titzak elai. Why are you crying out to me, Moshe? Daber al b'nei Yisrael v'yiso. This is all part of my plan. Just tell the Jewish people to keep on going. Great question. Why did Moshe have to ask God? Why did he have to cry out to God? He already believed in Hashem and his mission, his goal, in the fact that Hashem had already performed so many miracles for the people. Maybe he would perform another miracle. Was there a lacking in Moshe's faith that Hashem would come through for the Jewish people, that he had to call out to Hashem and say, God, what are you doing here? What should we be doing next? This past week was the yurtzeit of the Sfas Emes. The Sfas Emes addresses this question and says that there was no lack of faith on behalf of Moshe Rabbeinu. Rather, it was simply Moshe Rabbeinu inherently being a Jew and a human being and being a leader who cared about his people. And that Moshe understood that there needed to be a sense of patience, that Hashem was going to come through for the people. But when he looked at the children, and he saw their eyes and he saw the fear in their eyes, and he looked at the parents and he saw their faces drooped at a fear that they were going to have to go back to Mitzrayim, and he saw the elderly, the suffering, who were walking and all of a sudden were doomed, having tasted freedom, but yet thinking that they're going to have to be going back. Moshe couldn't help. He couldn't help but to cry out to Hashem, to say, Hashem, I see the suffering of my people. How can I turn a deaf ear? How can I not respond in some way? So Hashem says to Moshe, I understand, but trust me, just keep on going. And ultimately, they keep on going. The sea splits. The Bnei Yisrael walk through to the other side. The Egyptians come in. The water comes on top of the Egyptians, as we know the story. The Egyptians are all killed. The Jewish people move on to the rest of their destiny, to the rest of the story of the people. Powerful lesson that is shared with us here by the Sfas Emes. That when another Jew is in pain, when another person is suffering, we cannot turn a deaf ear. For whatever reason, there are some times in life when people suffer and the suffering is brought upon themselves by themselves. There are times that happens. And there are other moments in life when people suffer and we don't understand. We don't comprehend how it can be that they're suffering. And we turn to Hashem and we say, Hashem, we just don't get it. And Hashem, of course, answers, look, it's my world. Not for you to understand how I work. But nevertheless, we have to have the emotion to feel for another person who is in pain, from another person who's scared, for another person who's going through a difficult struggle in their lives, and we have to sit there to listen to them, to extend a hand, and to let them know that we are there by their side to support them, however close or however distant we are from them. Whatever may have happened in the past between us and them, when a person is in a perilous moment, when a person is struggling, they have to know they have another person by their side That's the lesson of the Sfas Emes, the lesson that we learn by the crying of Moshe responding to the calling out of the Jewish people. And ultimately, how Hashem performed a miracle for the Bnei Yisrael. May Hashem comfort all of those who go through difficult times, who struggle, who have pain, and hopefully they will see a Yeshua as Bnei Yisrael saw the Yeshua of HaKadosh Baruch Hu when they crossed the Yam Suf. Thank you for listening. Have a good Shabbos.